Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Yash Khandelwal. So in today's video, we are going to discuss a machine coding round problem in JavaScript which has been asked in companies like Amazon. So let's see what the problem statement is. So we have to create a component for WhatsApp last seen feature using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So basically you must have seen the last seen timestamp in your WhatsApp which shows last time when a person was active, right? So let's see what input we will be given. So you will be given your last online date and time, and the output should be like last seen just now, last seen an hour ago, last seen like in this format. And it was also given that last seen just now should be shown if the last online time was less than 60 seconds. So let's jump into the code. So first, we will going to take the input using the input field. So let's just create an input field first with date time local. So here we have got the input field. We're getting date, month, and year. Perfect. So and here we are getting hours and minutes, but we also want seconds as well because we know we have to show last seen just now based on seconds, right? So for that we can use an attribute known as step and give it a value of 1. So yes, we have got three numbers here as well. So perfect. We are getting the input. So let's just give it an ID as well, like input time. Yeah, let's just create a button as well, which we're gonna say submit button. Okay, let's give it some ID as well. Let's just say submit BTN. I'm not deep diving into the styling part as we will be focusing on the functionality of this logic only. Right. So, okay, let's add some functionality to the button. First, grab the button, query selector, submit, PTN. Okay, let's just add an event listener on click. So basically what we are going to do is we will take this input, like we will select a date and we will hit submit, and on submit we will do that functionality, like we will display a last seen uh, message here only. So let's first make an h1 tag and give it some id. Let the id say last seen message, and in this tag we will going to show the last seen message using javascript. Okay, so let's add an event listener to this button on click and add a function. You can have a normal function, right? Okay, so let's just close it properly. And so first just simply check if everything is integrated perfectly fine or not. Okay, so I'm gonna clear the console. I will hit submit. Okay, so no console is coming. Okay, it should be click. Event, yes. So this add this event listener has been integrated. So let's just quickly grab the time. In time should be document dot query selector, and it will be stored in this input. Let's grab it dot value, right? So let's just console log it quickly. Input time. So let's check if we are getting the input time or not. Yes, we are getting input time. So let's make a function which will handle the functionality for the last seen message. Last seen, it will gonna receive last seen time, this exact timestamp it will gonna receive, and it will compute the functionality and it give us a string which will gonna display these messages, right? So let's call this function on last seen message should be get last seen, and we will pass this input time here, right? So now first challenge we have is to separate, like, let me just console log the last seen time again. Last seen and comment it out. It okay. So if I hit submit, so I'm getting the last seen date and time both in this single string, right? So 2023, and I'm getting the year here, month here, and date here, and after T I'm getting the time, right? So the first challenge here was to segregate these two values and to get date and time separately. So how we can do that? So we can use the split function in JavaScript on strings. So let's just see how we can use that. So const date and time is going to be last seen dot split. So basically what split does is it returns an array of strings with which contains substrings. Like if I do a split and pass t in this, we're gonna create an array which contains these two strings. Like one string will have 2023 03 to 28, and another string will have 23 colon 31 colon 37. So let's just console log it out. It will make pretty clear. Uh, right. Okay, let me clear the console and hit the submit button again. So yes, it has we have got both the date and time in different two different strings, right? So now the second task we have is to segregate these in separate variables, like to get the year, month and date separately, and similarly to get the hours, minutes and seconds separately as well, right? So we can do that similarly using strings. Now I will gonna use spread operator to get year, month and days should be last, no, date and time. At 0th index we were getting these three. So now I want to split it again with hyphen, right? Because these are separated with hyphen, right? And similarly, we can do for time. So we will gonna have hours, we're gonna have minutes, and we will gonna have seconds, date and time one, and we can split it with colon, right? Because these were separated with colon, right? So just cross checking everything. You can console.log years, months, and days, hours, minutes, and seconds, right? So let's save it, let's clear the console, let's just select some random date. Yes, we are getting all the values, right? So now how we will gonna proceed, like how we will get these strings or the time difference. So what we can do is we can, so first we have to have the current date. So let's create the current date, and one thing I forgot to mention is you are not allowed to use any date library. So we cannot use any third-party date library or any package to handle dates. So the main challenge here was to handle the date and time using normal JavaScript date functions. Right. So let's first have current date. How we can have is we can use the new operator and the date function. If we not provide any argument in this will gonna give us current date. Right. So we can console.log it current date. Right. So if I hit submit, okay. So because I haven't selected any input, right? So let me just select it. I will just hit submit. So yes, this will give me correct input date, right? So what we can do is we can create a similar date for this input as well, right? And how we can do that? Const last seen date is new date, and we will gonna pass all these variables in this particular sequence to this date. So what date will do is it will create a date with these values and give us a string in this format, these particular dates, right? So let's simply do this. Right. One more thing, in this date object, this month starts with zeroth index. Like January is represented with 0, but in this input, if I take January, like the month is January, so it is represented with 1. So we have to reduce a month, right? So basically for 1 we have to pass 0. So we will simply minus 1 for the month and we will get the date. So if I console.log last seen date as well, so we will gonna have both the current date and last seen date, right? So let's just check it once. So if I enter a date as 27, if I hit submit, so yes, current date is this and last seen date is, I just selected 27 March 2023 and we're getting the correct input, right? So now we have to handle cases like for which case we are going to show these outputs, right? So how we can do that? We can use actually we can use a function called get time, right? Get time gives us time in milliseconds. So let's check it. Console.log, if I do current date dot get time, right? So let me just run this function again. Yes, it is giving me a number and this number is time in milliseconds, right? So basically I can use get time function to get the difference between the current date and the last seen date, and I will get that difference in milliseconds. So I can simply divide it by 1000 to convert it in seconds. Right, so let's just do that. First we have to handle a case like this input should never be more than our current date, because our last seen time can never be more than our present time, right? So let's first just handle that case. If last seen date dot get time, it will gonna give us time in milliseconds, is greater than current date dot get time. So we'll just simply gonna return invalid. So let's just check what I'm saying. Let me just console.log it. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me just console.log it here itself. Console.log invalid input. Right. So uh, let's see. I select this last seen date as 30th of March, which is beyond our present date, which is 28th of March, right? So if I hit submit, yes, I'm getting invalid input, right? Because the last seen date is more than current date, which is not practically possible. right? So we have handled the edge case, right? Okay, so now I have to get the time difference between the current time and the last seen time, right? So what I can do is I can use this get time function, which will gonna give me the time in milliseconds, right? And I can convert that in seconds, in minutes, and hours by dividing with the respective values. So let's just simply do that. Const time diff in, let's say, seconds. So it will gonna have current date dot get time, because current date is always going to be greater than or equal to our last seen date, minus last seen date dot get time, right? So, and to convert it in seconds, we have to divide it by 1000, right? Because 1 second have 1000 milliseconds, right? So let's just see. If I take 44, right, if I hit submit, so okay, I haven't console.log it, console.log, and in second, okay, let's just run it again. If I select 44 and hit submit, so yes, I'm getting the time diff in seconds, 64.177, right? So obviously I want this in number, in integer only. I don't want this decimal, so I can use that round math.round function to round it in nearest integer. Math.round. Okay. So now if I check with 45, okay, 44, let's just check submit. So yes, I am now getting it in uh, integer only, no floating number I'm getting, right? So the logic of our last scene was, if the time is less than 60 seconds, so we have to see this, show this message, right? So basically we just simply gonna add a check here now. If time diff in second is less than 60, so we will gonna simply return last seen just now, right? So we have covered the first case, right? So now let's just move on to the second one. Now between 60 seconds and an hour, we have to show that minutes as well. So now let's get the time difference in minute as well. Const time diff in minute, right? I will gonna do math dot round current date dot get time minus last seen date dot get time, and this time I have to divide it with seconds into 60 as well, because 1 minute has 60 seconds, right? So I can simply, okay, first let's just store these constants in some variables, right? Const second is equals to 1000, and const minute is equal to second into 60, right? And let's just use these variables now. Second, right, and let's just use minute over here, right? Okay, let me see why is it giving an error. Okay, Right. So now we will be getting this time diff in minutes as well. Right. So let me first get this time diff for all, like for in hours as well. Const time diff in hours is equals to dot round rendered dot get time minus last seen date dot get time, and I will simply divide it with minutes into 60 because 1 hour has 60 minutes, and I can store this variable in a variable called hours as well, right? So let's just create it. Const hours is equals to minutes into 60, right? So let's just now use them. Okay, so else if time def in minutes is less than 60, right? So we're gonna just simply return a message like last seen, and we can simply just give them the minute last seen minutes ago, right? So let's just console log what we are returning, last seen message, right? Oh, so let's check. If I select timestamp, like let's take 5 6 minutes ago, submit. Okay, I have made a time here. Wait, let's just select it again. Let's just take 46, and if I hit submit, okay, we are not getting anything. Okay, console, it should be console.log, right? So let's take it again. Take 46. If I hit submit, yes, last seen 5 minutes 5. Okay, let's just add minute go, right? So and if I take seconds, if I take, let's say, some seconds only, submit last seen just now, right? So the functionality is taking shape. So let's continue. So now we have to handle the hours case as well. Else if time if in hours is less than 24, right? Because one day has 24 hours. If it is less than 24, so what we have to show? We have to show the day, like today or yesterday, and the time as well, right? So let's just return last seen today at, and we can have this hours and minutes. We already have these hours and minutes in these variables, right? In HH and MN. So and MN, right? So yes. Mm, let's take this as well. Let's take if it is like 2 hours ago, right? Save. So my last seen today at 8:53, right? Perfect. So, but we have one more case here. Like this today should be dynamic as well, because let's suppose that current time is right now 8 a.m. in the morning, and you have a last seen at yesterday night at around 11 p.m. So this message should show last seen yesterday at 11 p.m., right? Because it is obviously less than 24 hours. So how we can do that, right? So Let's make it dynamic. So how are we gonna check? We have to check with current date, right? So this date, we have stored the date in this dd, right? dd should be equal to current date dot get date. Get date will gonna give us the current date, right? So if this is true, then we will gonna have today. Otherwise, we will gonna have yesterday. Yesterday, today, right? Okay, so we have handled this case as well. So let's continue to else if. So now we have covered this hours case as well and this yesterday case as well, right? So let's just take this days case, last seen 5 days ago. So we have to get the time diff in days as well. Time diff in days. Math dot round and date dot get time minus last seen date dot get time, and we have to divide it with obviously hours into like one day has 24 hours, right? So we have to multiply it with 24 and we can store this value in a variable as days, and we can define this variable over here, const day. Okay, const days is equals to this. Let's just use this variable now. If time diff in days is less than 30, so we have to show the number of days, because for more than 30 days it will gonna be a complete month, so we have to show that month number, right? So let's just simply return last seen and day number and different days ago, right? So let's test this as well. So if I choose a date like 26, so it should say last seen 2 days ago, right? Because today is 28th, so 26th will obviously gonna be 2 days ago. So this is working fine as well. So now let's move on to the next output, that which is months. So let's now calculate the time diff in months. Const time diff in month math dot round current date get time minus last seen date dot get time, right? And we have to divide it with like days, and 1 month has 30 days, right? So we have to multiply it by 30. So let's just store it in a variable known as months. It is basically a good practice to store these constants in variables. Right? In the interview, you have to keep the good coding practices in mind as well. So let's now use this. Else if time diff in month is less than 12. So basically less than 12, because for more than 12 months we have to show the number of years, right? So let's just return last, okay, last seen time diff in month ago, right? So let's test this as well. So if I select February, any date in February, let's select 23 and I will hit submit. So last seen 1 month ago, right? So now let's handle the last case for years as well similarly. So const time diff in years will going to be math dot round current date dot get time minus last seen date dot get time, right? And we have to divide it by month obviously, and we have to multiply it with 12 as well because 1 year has 12 months, right? So again we're going to store this in a constant variable as well named years. Let's just make that variable const years is going to be this, right? Now let's use this time diff else because this is going to be the last case because time diff is never going to be beyond a year. Beyond the quantity is never going to be more than years, right? Return last seen, like, time diff in years ago, right? So let's test this case as well. Let's clear the console. So if I select like 2021 March, so submit, yes, last seen 2 years ago because 2021 March was exactly 2 years ago. So yes, this is working fine as well. Yes, this is how we should have implemented this code with proper logic. So I hope you like the video. If you like the content, then please hit the like button. Comment me down below if you want more such kind of videos, and please consider subscribing the channel. Thank you.